Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's good to see all of you. All right. It's Sunday morning. Oh, yeah, it is. But I decided to do a show because it's windy. It's sunny, but it's windy and it's 43 and I still have my wood stove going. It's kind of shitty out. So I said, you know what? And I did not set this up until this morning, like 2 hours ago, like the total pajama Sunday deal, which is cool. So we're going to do some talking about climate and how it's not in anyone's vocabulary anymore. Well, it is. It's only in the important people's vocabulary. So good morning, Raza. It's great to see you here. I know it's late afternoon there in the UK. And Gary and But the Truth and Boondocks Dragon and Billa and Moonman, RNS Moonman, and it's great. I'm really happy to see everybody here. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start with some comments, all right, which is going to start with the BS gaslighting, which got us here in this Orange Turd administration and, make America green, but really make America great again. And it's unreal, the stuff, but the gaslighting that I felt we're going to start with, and I'm going to start with some quotes. All right. So let's go. Bidenomics has made everything too expensive. Let's vote him out. Well, suck it up, snowflake. Inflation is actually good, and higher prices are just growing pains. Harris will start World War III. Yes, let's invade our allies. Let's just start World War III. Russia. Hoax. We need Greenland to protect against Russia. Yeah, we do. Companies poisoning us is bad, and it causes autism. Let's cut the FDA. Let's cut the EPA and rules that stop companies from poisoning us. Oh, yeah. Let's just let them rip. Biden wants to send us all to FEMA camps. Remember that one? Let's send everyone to wellness camps instead. We only care about illegals coming in. Now, deport everyone. Obviously, you see my pattern here. America's declining. Okay, but let's cut all our science, aid programs, and everything that made us a superpower. Yay! But her emails! People make mistakes. And, the classified war plans, they weren't actually classified. Then and now. He's not caving in. It's all the art of the deal. That's what it is. It's all the art of the deal. And I'm really sick of it. And it's really exhausting, in my opinion. It's exhausting how much people try to pretend it's something they voted for. Nobody voted for higher prices. Nobody voted for a possible war against our allies. And no one voted to end America as a superpower. Even the Republicans. Maybe MAGA, but they didn't even know any better because they're so brainwashed by watching Fox, right? Or OAN or any of those casters like Judge Janine. What a idiot. So, I just wish that they would admit, instead of giving straw man excuses, think about it. The best way to get away with doing something is to accuse your opponent of doing it first, which happens all the time. And if I wanted to rob a bank, I would totally be going around screaming how you literally rob banks all the time. Oh, crooked Trump derangement syndrome person, they call you. Yep. Seems like they don't want to be content with blaming the other guy for the end of the world because they want to end it themselves. That's where we are. They want to end it themselves. Mm-hmm. So I have another little thing I'm going to read. Now, this I did not think of or whatever, or but I'm going to read it to you because it comes from somewhere. All the links will be in the notes. The bureaucracy of apocalypse. Climate summits convene in glass towers, producing pledges as non-binding as the wind. Carbon offset schemes peddle a perverse absolution. Pay to plant a sapling in your private jet to Dubai is forgiven. Activists haul governments to court only to watch their cases sink into legal limbo, while corporate lobbyists carve loopholes with surgeon-like precision. Scientists issue warnings on a variety of environmental crises in peer-reviewed studies, yet modern civilization continues its unflinching march over the cliff of biospheric collapse. Policies are drafted in the passive voice. Measures will be considered. Targets aspire to. Collaboration prioritize. It's a trial without verdict, where the accused humanity itself is both defendant and jury, complicit in a crime and it cannot fully comprehend. The system thrives on this dance of futility. It demands our participation, but it denies us justice. So that's how I'm getting started today. And I see your comments are flying. Flying, flying, flying. Yes, Linda. Yes, Linda. They think that if the world ends, they will have all the money. They still win. It's deranged. Yeah, it is. It's deranged. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Yes, and Fox figured out how to maximize profit. Stupid. How to leverage stupid. How to leverage stupid. It did. So today, we're going to start with a David Wallace-Wells article. We're going to take a look at this because David, he wrote, what did he write? The Uninhabitable Earth. And he is a New York Times guy. And while I really don't love the New York Times, I've got it. Republicans and MAGA Nation morons are losing their shit over AOC. They're accusing her of everything under the sun. Yep. Yeah. Yep. They're terrible. And you know what? See what my shirt says today. This came from Katie, who sent this to me. Resist, right? Resist. Meow. 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 Resist because it's I know it's catchphrase and all, but I'm resisting those assholes. I am totally resisting the assholes. And I'm looking for all right. I wonder how many people are going to join us this morning. I don't know. All right. We are going on. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. All right, here we go. First things first. First thing I want to talk about is this. I have to admit that I did get a little bit stuck by AI for the first time. I kind of knew it was AI. I'm not playing it, but this is where we are. The $50 Orange Turd 2028. Are they? This is his store. This is the President of the United States store. And I had to start here because it's really pathetic that this is our country. That those of you that live in the United States, it is pretty gross. So they've got headwear. Oh, look at these hats. Who I can't stand the people that wear pajamas. Who's making all this money? Golf. I mean, really, it's gross. It's gross. T-shirts. It is really gross. Thankfully, where I live, there's not a lot of people. Look at the jewelry. Can you imagine? Could you really fucking imagine wearing MAGA ID bracelet? It is a cult. Let's see what this one looks like. $47. Look at that. Trump. It's pathetic. The Trump store. So I needed to show you something that we would kind of puke over before I start with Wells. And it was the title of my show, The World Seems to Be Surrendering to Climate Change. Now, before I go through this, I want to tell you something. I notice it. First of all, my channel, for whatever reason, because I do what I want, I don't follow anybody else's methodology or whatever. I don't, okay? And I've started to do some shorts and things like that. A little different. But climate, environmental videos on YouTube, I've noticed, are not getting the views, at least that they used to. I don't know if it's competition or if it's that everything is like that video I made. If I said the word Orange Republican Turd, if I said it all the time, or if I talked about him and all the horrible things that are happening, which I'm going to do today anyway, well, maybe we'd get some views. But I'm going to give you this example. There's a channel I found. He's a progressive, and it's called UNFTR Media. Now, he did this whole thing on climate, and he got 977 views. Okay. But, I mean, because he's whatever he is, he's a dude. Everything else gets, one of them got 127,000. One got 45,000. One got 6.1. I wouldn't mind getting through to people. So 398,000. But then you go to climate, 977 views. Let's get started. Let's see what David has to say. And of course, you know. The scope of the Orange Republican Turd's assault on the country's climate ambitions over just 3 months is not just enraging, but also perversely awe-inspiring. In the run-up to the November election, conventional analysis suggested that a Orange Republican Turd victory would mean an additional 4 billion tons of CO2 emissions to the atmosphere by 2030, a total surrender on climate pledges the country had made under the Paris Agreement, and the functional end of the global goals the agreement established among nearly all of the world's nations. But in many ways, on climate, as on other fronts, the administration has been worse than was feared, taking an axe to the Department of Energy's loan programs office, pressuring foreign countries to increase their consumption of American liquefied natural gas as a part of the administration's trade war, and casting the whole future of President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act in doubt. As Matthew Zeitlin wrote in Heat Map last week, an end to subsidies for green energy under the act could strip solar power of its cost advantage over natural gas, and the Republican Orange Turd administration has tried to block states from pursuing climate goals on their own. Yeah. So I'll never get those solar panels on my roof. It's been haphazardly sabotaging the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the National Weather Service, presumably for the sin of working on climate-related assessments and canceling so much research funding that public agencies and university programs alike are feeling like they are in free fall. I've been watching this with the universities. It's disgusting. And people get upset when we say it's like 1939. During its first administration, the Orange Republican Turd loved to talk about tree planting as an alternative climate solution. In this term, he's canceling those programs too. The Biden administration sometimes boasted about its whole of government response to climate change. This is a whole of government counter-offensive. But the story of retreat from climate policies is larger than Trump or his desire to make America more of a petrostate, and is more worryingly global than merely just MAGA. And you have to attach MAGA moron to the end of that. Just a few years ago, worldwide climate concerns seemed to be reaching new peaks almost monthly, with cultural momentum growing and policy commitments following. Then came COVID, inflation, higher interest rates, which made the cost of living in the global debt crisis worse, and above all, perhaps, a new accommodation to the brutal realities of climate change that some call pragmatism and some call normalization. Yeah, normalization. Let's give that a cheer. Surveys still show widespread climate concern in a poll covering 130,000 people in 125 countries. That's not a lot of people. And that's a lot of countries for not a lot of people. What is that? Not very many. 89% of respondents said they wanted stronger action. But at the highest levels of discourse and policy debate, just a few years since the Inflation Reduction Act and Boris Johnson declaring it's 1 minute to midnight on that doomsday clock, the tide is going out on climate alarm. And for a while, it's been doing that for a while, hasn't it? So that's the first flush of the day. Bye-bye, climate alarm. Goodbye. Okay, first flush of the day. There might be a couple. I mean, I would love to flush the first. I would like to really flush all this shit down. In Europe, leaders have spent the years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine reckoning with the energy crisis that it produced, and in part rethinking the commitments of the continent's landmark Green Deal. In Britain, officials are debating dropping legally binding commitments to reach net zero carbon emissions. In Mexico, its climate scientist president, Claudia Sheinbaum, is building fossil fuel infrastructure. And in Canada, the new prime minister, well, there's an election, so we have to see if he's going to be the new prime minister, which I think he is. Mark Carney chose as his first official act to repeal the country's landmark carbon tax. None of these moves are backbreakers for climate action, and some may even be defensible to climate campaigners on the basis of political necessity. But tellingly, each would have been very hard to imagine 5 years ago. From 2019 to 21, governments from around the world added more than 300 climate adaptation and mitigation policies each year. In 2023, the figure was under 200, and in 2024, it was under 50. Don't forget, what has happened from COP, the big trade fair? A big nothing, probably. I'd say. You know, this is COP. Yeah. Sorry. That's how I feel. Carney is a former central banker who spent years rallying the financial world in support of climate goals as part of what is called the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. In the year after it was announced in 2021, the Alliance's industry-led banking arm added nearly 100 signatories. Over the past year, the group has added fewer than 10. And since December, it lost BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley. The S&P Global Clean Energy Transition Index has been in steady decline, the energy analyst Nat Bullard recently noted, with its value falling more than half since 2021. This month, a symposium sponsored by People's Forum in New York raised the prospect that just a few years past its much ballyhooed heyday, we had already reached the end of green capitalism. You tell me if you think it's a good thing. Green capitalism. Perhaps the phrase was always an alibi for business as usual, an opportunity for profit minded to surf the zeitgeist. Surfing the zeitgeist and lay claim to ecological beneficence. But even so, there has been an undeniable change. When Bloomberg recently analyzed earnings calls of the S&P 500 companies going back to 2020, it found that the companies talked about the environment in the first quarter of 2025 on average 76% less than they did 3 years ago. And when the financiers, these big money people do talk about it, the tone is very different. 5 years ago, the chatter was about business opportunity of a successful transition. These days, as Kate Elazegui wrote recently in the New Republic, it's much more likely to emphasize the opportunities of a hotter world. Booming demand for air conditioning, for instance. A recent report from Morgan Stanley declared that the goals of keeping warming within the limits that more than 190 nations adopted a decade ago in Paris are now well out of reach, thanks to recent setbacks to global decarbonization efforts. Populism, inflation, energy prices, and the cost of living crisis, and interest rates, and the cost of financing anything, let alone something with a relatively low rate of return. Well, other reports from J.P. Morgan Chase and the Institute of International Finance, they reached the same conclusion. So what is perhaps most shocking about this is that, as I've written, David has written, these very simple probable outcomes were what gave rise to the wave of climate alarm that seemed so profoundly improve our climate prospects just a few years ago. In the aftermath of the Paris Agreement, and thanks to the work of scientists working to clarify the stakes of honoring it, we got a glimpse of a world 2 degrees Celsius, 3.6 Fahrenheit, warmer than pre-industrial levels, and we're collectively terrified into action by what we saw. But in the years since, we've watched warming accelerate, and many of those premonitions became real in the form of once unimaginable disasters, like the exacerbating tornadoes and Tornado Alley, which we're going to take a look at. But for many, the terror has subsided, giving way to a sort of heavy acquiescence. Last week, the writer and activist Bill McKibben titled a reflection on the subject, "A Chill Falls on the Climate Community." He's trying to reignite the flame with a major action towards the end of the summer. And last month, Bill Gates' climate initiative, Breakthrough Energy, closed its policy and advocacy office and laid off much of its staff in Washington, suggesting there was little to agitate for when it comes to climate in today's D.C. Ugh, God. Earlier this month, the Council on Foreign Relations began a climate realism initiative, although I have to say, climate realism is a Heartland Institute term. Among its guiding principles that the world should give up on its cherished goals of limiting warming to 1.5 or 2 Celsius, instead to prepare for a far more punishing 3 degrees or more. To some of the audience, it seemed like a declaration of indifference masquerading as pragmatism. Even if we stop clinging to 1.5, the Carnegie Endowment's Noah Gordon asked plaintively, we must concede 3? Consider this as a moral challenge. And the answer must be no. As a matter of carbon math, though, the problem looks harder to solve. These days, when reckoning with the loss of cultural momentum, climate advocates will often point to green records set every year. Worldwide annual solar power installations having more than doubled since 2021, annual global investment in energy transition doubling to 2 trillion in just 3 years. That's the green capitalism, guys. Renewables producing 92.5% of added worldwide power capacity last year. All the highlights you can see for yourself are the links to where he gets his material. And although a staggering share of the global progress is taking place in China, in the United States, the progress can be similarly breathtaking. Wind capacity up 23-fold in 2 decades, according to a new analysis in Vox. Utility scale battery capacity up 29-fold in just 5 years, and more U.S. electricity generated by renewables than fossil fuels this March for the very first time. Climate optimists look at all that and say, well, whatever the politics, economics has made the energy transition unstoppable. In the long run, over generations, that still seems like a bet to me. Okay, over generations. Remember what indigenous? 7 generations. But it's in the short run, just decades, that the pathways to what we once identified as relatively livable futures will be made or broken. And there I find myself wondering, how unstoppable is it really? I'll write more about that in coming weeks. And then I think they made a mistake. What did he say? When we learned about a mistake. There was 188 comments. But I want to move over because we're going to talk about let me see. Okay, we're going to move over. We're going to see some things that are really interesting. And my thing about David and what he's writing is, I think he's one of the people that really knows how fucked we are. He just wrote it. And even a clean transition. A clean transition. You know, we've talked about it. How clean could it be when it's just mining and all the things that are happening? And for me, it's not nuclear, even though I listen to the tech bros tout nuclear as it's going to be the next great thing. I don't know. I haven't researched the molten salt and all the things that the nuclear proponents are talking about. It would be nice, Alex. But what do you call it? Clean transition? I mean, look, what are we going to do? We're going to look at this. Postcards from a World on Fire. Let's go. Okay. I need to move over some screens. This is it's New York Times Day, I guess, because somebody bought me a sub. I wasn't going to buy a sub. I can't even afford the $4 a week or whatever the hell they want to do it. So I think it is. I can't. I have to get a garden going. So don't forget. It's just the way it is. So Postcards from a World on Fire. The New York Times has the money to have a climate desk, to have these top-notch journalists. They do. They may be the neoliberal suck ass of the world, but they have a good climate desk. And so what I want to do, politicians, they have argued, the summits have come and gone, but the truth is that climate change is already upon us. This is the Times opinion tour of how climate change has begun reshaping reality in the 193 member states of the United States in ways big and small. In this project, you'll see extreme weather and disappearing species. This is something else. But we're probably not going to be looking at the whole thing because that's 193 countries, you know. Researchers say climate change acts as a threat amplifier, taking what it already would be and making it more extreme. Some of the stories will horrify you. Some may inspire you. But what they should all make clear is that The climate crisis, I'm saying crisis, is real, and it's now. The only question left is how we plan to limit it. Well, in the United States, limiting it is going to be very difficult with the Republican Orange Turd in office. And then the people that the four horses of the apocalypse, like Howard Licknuts Lutnick, they don't care. The only green they've ever seen is a golf course. All right, so let's see. We're going to look at, there's Turkey. Okay. Turkey, Pakistan, which is getting hotter, Italy, mango bruschetta, Zambia, Netherlands. Skating on the Netherlands' many canals has long been a favorite winter activity, but in the past decade, Amsterdam's canals have only frozen 3 times. When canals do freeze, as they did in February, skaters find themselves on dangerously thin ice. That's 5 countries. Now, of course, here's the New York Times. It's not too late. I'm sorry. It's too late. 2/3 of that's my opinion. This is my thing. But that doesn't mean, and I always say that, the big picture is overwhelming. But we live in communities, and we can fight, and we can resist, and we can do a lot of things. Morocco. 2/3 of Morocco oases have disappeared in the past century. Andorra. The average yearly temperature in Andorra increased by 5.2 degrees Fahrenheit between 1901 and 2020. Of course, they do it that way. But look at that. And Senegal. 3 months worth of rain fell on a single day in September 2020, filling parts of the Dakar with algae-covered water. This is pretty gross. This is pretty good. Okay. Yes, Gary. It's not, Sandy, with this attitude, we are too late. Listen, I think people are going to do what they're going to do. The fight, the resist, green energy transition. I bring on people. I brought on David, who did a crops program. Gary, I support you. I just, the bigger picture is insurmountable. We are not stopping anything. Greenhouse gases are over 430 parts per million, which has never been seen in humanity. Come on. We really need to be realistic. But we can do so much locally where we are, instead of looking at the big picture that we are and feeling powerless. We don't have to feel powerless. That's what I always say. We don't have to feel powerless. France. In January, France's wine regulator approved 6 new grape varieties which can adapt to warming temperatures to be grown in ultra-traditional Bordeaux. Botswana. Southern Africa's oldest baobab trees, some of them 2,500 years old, are suddenly dying. Researchers blame climate change. The years 2005 to 2017 saw the demise of 9 of the continent's oldest. Now, I don't know if I can hear her. Hang on. Oh, yeah, we can hear her. Let's see what this gal is saying.
And a fifth of it.
Okay, we got to start it over.
So when we act on climate, it helps all people everywhere. India, we know, is one of the most vulnerable countries facing the impacts of climate change. It is one of the youngest, the second most populous, and the third most disaster-prone countries globally. India's children, who constitute 41% of our population, will be burdened with the most dangerous impacts of the climate crisis. Over 1 billion children from India and other low to middle income countries have unfortunately inherited problems not of their own making.
This is as loud as I
We
can
have been
make it.
told time and again that the planet is not some intangible future gain. It is our livelihoods, our coastlines, our children's health, our critically endangered species, our food security. We need countries to redouble their commitments to reduce emissions, but also to build resilience against extreme weather events that will impact the poorest first and mitigate the immediate impact of air and water pollution. India is also home to over 7% of the world's wildlife species, and a fifth of India lives by the sea. So when we act on climate, it helps all people everywhere. India, we know, is one of the most vulnerable countries facing the impacts of climate change. It is one of the youngest.
So I think she did a good job. It's interesting that she called it one of the youngest countries. Is it one of the youngest countries? Usha Vance said that too, but India's been, I don't think it's such a young country. I worked with so many wonderful people from India. The cultures are beautiful. All right, we're going to look at the United States now because this is kind of fun. And well, I want to take a couple of comments because I see you guys are talking, and it is Sunday. Yeah, right. I really actually like this. The only thing that is holding back civil unrest in the U.S. is cheap consumer goods from China. When that shit dries up, Billy Ray's going to start getting really pissed. Yeah, I had to put that one up. And there is... Barlow pointed out that cheap, clean energy would threaten biodiversity. Yeah, Stephen Barlow. I want to have him on as a guest to talk about these things. And I do have William Reese coming, so that's going to be a hell of a show. All right, you just checked into New York Times free access from the public library. Well, that's cool. All right, so we're going to go on. And hi, Bob Carmody. All righty, let's go on. Oh, I see. She's talking about gaining independence from colonizing Britain. The Indian cultures are 5,000 years old. Okay, I gotcha. That's what's... Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That was perfect. Perfect. Now, we are going to look at the United States. The United States has top risks in the U.S. river flooding, hurricanes, and wildfires. Not even... So I decided that we could put each place in the United States faces its own unique climate threats. And so what I thought I would do is ask you guys for a county to put in. I'm putting in mine, and let's see what it says. All right, let's see what it says. Flooding is the top climate change risk in Allegheny County, and I doxed myself. Oh, well. According to an analysis of data from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Inland flooding, often from rivers and streams overflowing their banks, causes billions of dollars of climate damage each year, costs that are expected to rise. Lovely! I live right near a creek. Extreme rainfall and rapid snowmelt due to climate change can increase the frequency of extreme floods for some areas along rivers or creeks. Isn't that a comfort? So it's more sandbags. I do have sandbags on the one side of my house. On the one side by the creek. Because it did overflow once. And I decided never again. And got sandbags lined on the one side. And all the weeds and shit I put in. Joe pie and all these things grow over it. So let us see if I can get back to telling you what county. All right. Who wants to look at their county? Carroll County. Okay, let's look at Carroll County, Mississippi. Carol. Carroll County. Carroll County. Let me get this out of here. Sorry, but I thought this would be cool. Carroll County. C-A-R. How do you spell it? So, my screen's supposed to show panels. Uh, where was that? Carole. Carroll County. Where is it? I lost you. Shit. Did I lose you? Carroll. Okay. Carroll County, where? Mississippi. Why isn't it showing Mississippi? And it's 2 R's, that's why. Sorry, guys, I'm a little slow on this Sunday morning. Carroll County, MISS. Here we go. Oh, only took a half an hour. All right, Boondocks. Let's take a look at your county. And that's all I can do. I can't, whoops. I can't take those off, Karen. These are all going to be showing. Let us go all the way back to the beginning of this, Carroll County. All right, Carroll County, here we go. I had it. Heat waves are the top climate change risk in Carroll County, according to analysis of data from FEMA. During a brutal heat wave in the summer of 2019, oh, this is just a picture. More people die from heat waves than from any other severe events in the U.S. Climate change is causing heat waves to become more frequent, longer lasting, and more intense in the past. Here's how FEMA evaluated the climate change risks in Carroll County. Heat waves, Boondocks. Wow. Hurricanes and droughts. So there you go. Who else? Let's see. Come on. I'll try to be faster. Carroll County. There's a guy in Africa. Okay, wait. I'm looking. Carroll County, Transylvania County, North Carolina. All right, Transylvania County. This ought to be fun to try to do it. Okay. No, I want to get back. Okay, here we go. Transylvania County, Translvania. Transylvania. What happened to it? Oh my God, it went over to Transylvania. Here we go. Bear with me. Because I was there. Jeez, hang on. Let me move this thing. Here we go. North Carolina. All right, here we are in Transylvania County. Flooding is the top climate risk in Transylvania County, according to analysis of data from FEMA. Inland flooding, often from rivers and streams overflowing their banks, causes billions of dollars of damage each year. Costs that are expected to rise with climate change. Extreme rainfall and rapid snow melt, and there's the maps again, due to climate change can increase the frequency of extreme floods or along some rivers and creeks. So it's similar. This is how FEMA evaluated climate change in Transylvania County. River flooding is a big one. Oh my gosh. Wow. Droughts. Whoops. No. Droughts. Here. We were there. Droughts. And then hurricanes. So Oliver, it's yeah, and they're still building in the floodplain where you live. Libby, this is the New York Times. The article has all these links in it, and I will have it in the show notes. I know, probably looking at here. Let me try to move it over so it's not as distracting, but let's do somebody else's. Lane County, Oregon. All right. Let's do Lane County, Oregon. All right. Lane County. flooding. Holy shit, Mark. Flooding is the top climate risk in Lane County, according to analysis of data. Inland flooding causes billions of dollars of damage each year. This was clear in Eugene after heavy rains and rapid snowmelt in April 2019 caused the Willamette to top its banks. I remember my brother lives in Eugene. Extreme rainfall and rapid snowmelt due to climate change can increase frequency of extreme floods for some areas along the rivers and creeks. And here it is, Lane County, river flooding. Big one. Heat waves, which you have seen in Eugene, which my brother says it's insane. He had to put air conditioning in. He's been in his house 42 years. Same house forever. Yep. And coastal flooding. Wow. That's pretty heavy. You don't think about coastal flooding. Okay, let's see. Anybody else have their we have to have some fun. And did I miss anybody that wanted their county? Yeah. I like that we went back to that. Now I understand it exactly. I'm talking about freeing from colonization, of course. All right, well, I don't see anybody else wanting me to do this. I'm just wondering if there's one more place to put in. Let's see. Where would I want to figure out any county in let's see how Wisconsin does. Marathon County. All right, that's from Libby. All right. Heat waves are the top climate change risk in Marathon County. Wow. More people die from heat waves. Heat in Chicago was so severe in July 2018 that Michigan Avenue Bridge had to be cooled off to open. God, I remember that too. So much crap. Jennifer and I used to talk about all of this. Heat waves are the greatest threat. Climate change is causing the heat waves, frequent, longer lasting, and more intense. So in your county, Libby, Marathon County, heat waves, river flooding, wildfires. There is even a chance, but it's mainly heat. So everybody's got to cool off. So I think we had enough of that one. Let's see. Bhutan, Tanzania. Look at the fires. Several wildfires broke out in Mount Kilimanjaro in October 2020. I couldn't have done. I mean, they did a phenomenal job. This is really something. Phenomenal job. I guess I'm kind of glad that I got this subscription as a gift. Thank you to who you are. You know who you are out there. Vanuatu. In April 2020, Vanuatu was hit by Cyclone Harold. It was the South Pacific Island's second category 5 storm in 5 years. Holy shit. This is actually would be a great video just doing it. Okay. We know that ice loss in Greenland. Oh my goodness. And Greenland, we are going to colonialize Greenland and steal every last bit of minerals before the ice and the permafrost and everything slides all the way off. And then the billionaires will go, and that's where they'll put their crops when they're coming back and forth between Mars and the Earth. Of course, Donald Trump will be memorialized there in a gold statue. And you can buy a replica. You'll still be able to buy a replica on the Donald Trump Orange Republican Turd website. Don't forget that. So ice loss in Greenland, a Danish territory, accelerated by a factor of 5 over the past 30 years. Which means it sounds like these. The whistling and creaking of melting ice. Oh, shit. I have it. And the deep bottoms of calving glaciers are becoming far more common. I have to set up this thing I have so I could just push buttons and they would all play, because it starts with a drip and then it goes to a break. And then it even goes through more. Hear it? Oh, that's what we're hearing. We're hearing the crack and the plop in the water. All right. Kiribati, Kuwait, 127.7 Fahrenheit, because morons in the United States have to think in the F instead of the C. Still pretty hot in C. Japan, the winter ice flows of the Sea of Okhotsk, say it with me, guys, Okhotsk, are crucial to the survival of one of Japan's favorite sushi ingredients, and that is salmon. Are we glad that they're going to get rid of the salmon? Yeah, maybe we're glad that they're going to get rid of the salmon fishing. But the salmon are going away. We're not glad that the salmon are going away. I just wish the fishing methods, the trawling. Oh, I did a video once on the bottom ocean trawling. It's just really horrible. Honduras, look at the hurricanes. Eta and Iota, two of the most destructive. 94 people in 2020. Oh, but it's just the climate always changes. Morons. Mexico City sinking. Oh, there's pictures here. Across Mexico's capital, buildings tilt, dip, and bend. The reason? Researchers estimate that parts of the city are sinking by as much as 20 inches a year. Jesus Christ. Look at that. The increasingly unstable ground is a result of the ancient aquifer below the city drying up through a combination of overpumping and climate change. Have you ever heard that in any other mainstream media channel or anything? Have you heard it? Maybe they talk about it on Mexico television or networks. I don't know much about it. Wow. Look at Norway. Some architects are choosing wood to avoid concrete's huge carbon footprint. At 18 stories, the Morstarnet building in Brumunddal is one of the world's tallest wooden skyscrapers. I'm doing my best at not sounding like a clueless moron. Greece, flash floods. Yeah, they have flash floods. And they had a lot of fires in Greece and Barbados. Jeez. The ocean for the average Barbadian. Some use it as a means of relaxation. Some use it as a means to get money. And some use it for food. See, this person, this is another one. I don't want to listen to it at the moment. I want to go because there's so many countries. Let's look at, oh, God. Namibia. Last winter, in a controversial move, Namibia attempted to sell 170 elephants. The government said the elephants had to go because drought, combined with an increase in elephants, was resulting in more dangerous contact with humans. Conservationists dispute the government's claim. Still, the country managed to sell only 57. Okay. That gets a flush. Because it's just too sad. We're going to flush away the fact that they had to sell elephants. I love elephants. That's always been something I loved. And way back in the day when there was a Catskill game farm in Catskill, New York, they had elephant shows all the time. And at that time, after I went and I was horrified, even though the kids seemed to love it, I was horrified. I became an activist for the Catskill Game Farm to get rid of elephants, and they did, and they closed. They could have done other things. I mean, they had deer, they had petting zoos. It was the circus-like bullshit with the elephants. I really hate circuses. I really hate them. Guatemala, the climate migrants. Okay, we're going to look at this one. Definitely. Definitely. A warming planet is expected to cause hundreds of millions of people to flee their homes over the coming decades. In Guatemala, the exodus has already begun. A combination of long droughts, severe heat waves, and strong hurricanes are devastating the country. Farms are failing, people are going hungry. Migration can rarely be attributed to just one factor, but Guatemalan migrants and humanitarian experts alike say climate change is making areas of the country uninhabitable. And I've seen pictures of beautiful country. In the past 5 years, tens of thousands of Guatemalans made their way to the U.S. border annually, seeking a better life than they can find in their ever hotter country. And do you ever hear any of the right wing specifically, or even the media talking about them as climate migrants? This is going to happen more and more. It's going to happen in the United States. It already is. It already is happening. The Congo. Okay, the Congo. Here, we have to do this one too. I could do all 193. We'd be here a long time. It's mined in dangerous conditions, and about 40,000 miners are children. It's horrible. Tesla plans to use cobalt-free batteries, but this could take years. Until then, there is a big price to pay for our green energy future, which is happening in the United States too. Thacker Pass, anyone? Lithium? Max Wilbert fought against it, lived there, blood, sweat, and tears, and still lost. And Thacker Pass, that's what it's going to look like. These men are exiting a mine shaft with a 200-pound bag of ore containing cobalt, an elusive element that's central to our clean energy future. Not to Donald Trump, anyway. Cobalt is a key ingredient in electric car batteries. About 60% of global production comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So let me ask you a question here. If this is happening, what kind of investment does Elon Musk, have in the Congo, I wonder? Even though he's losing business. Look at that. It's really a difficult world for so many people. Alex, DRC is a serious country, worst wildfires in the world. They make nearly nothing for the cobalt they mine. Guatemala is beautiful, especially the mountains. One of my favorite places. You're blessed to have been able to go there. Susan remembers it. I hate seeing any animals in small enclosures. Plus, the stench there was unbearable. Well, I was one of the ones that helped get rid of it. I tried. I think I did anyway. Yeah, and Gazans, they're starving right before our eyes. Not only that, I remember when I did the research and did a video on Palestine and the farms and the difference between what Israel has and what Palestine has. It was awful. It was really awful. Peter Joseph has a new plan for us all to be able to opt out of the fossil earth destroying economy. He does. Gary, that's in our chat. He's got a new channel about sustainable cities and but it's not just a channel, it's what he wants to do. And so, I mean, of course, there's a lot of people. I would never say don't. I just don't like, and I haven't done a show on this, the solar radiation testing. Maybe I don't like it. I feel like we're going to be living the book, The Ministry of the Future. We are. In that book, India was already doing it because it was so hot there. Germany. This is the sound of spruce needles. raining down on. Wow. Holy shit. If I ever heard that, this was after droughts in 18 and 19 spruce trees died off across the country. Is what on? You didn't hear the system audio? Yeah. You had to have heard it. Yeah, that's the sound. Somebody recorded all that. Jesus Christ. Unreal. Mali, Samoa, Uganda. Uganda is now a travel problem. Bush crickets. My parents have been to Uganda twice. Bush crickets in Luganda, a local language, are both a delicacy and a source of income. Swarms of bush crickets arrive twice a year right after the rainy season seeking food and mates. They stay just a few nights. Ugandans lure them with light bulbs and traps. People stay up all night capturing them in burlap sacks, plastic bottles, or whatever is at hand. In recent years, deforestation reduced the number of insects, and climate change has made the rainy season unpredictable. Everybody eats some different shit. That's it. Could be lost. Everybody eats different shit. We're going to be eating insects in the U.S. I already eat flowers. Why not eat insects? Nasturtiums, all kinds of flowers you can eat. You can eat a lot of things. And I've got to go out in the afternoon and plant. Argentina, the hooded grabe, Grenada, hot. Saudi Arabia. Here, let's look at the Saudis. Those just bastions of lovely people that just love the orange Republican turd. An icy flash flood swept through an area of Ha'il province on April 16th. Look at that. Holy crap. I am. Where is it? Oh, me too. I've got a whole bunch of stuff growing in my dining room. Not for the greenhouse yet. We could talk about that after. Because the greenhouse is getting some work done to it called opening it up for ventilation. Because it's too hot. Britain. All right. Those of you from the UK that are here. Can cricket, a summer sport that is played outdoors, survive an era of increasingly stormy weather? A 2018 report found that the rain has already reduced playing time. One club based in Cardiff in Wales lost the equivalent of 217 days of cricket since 2000. Oh, where is my... That's too bad. It's too bad. Panama. Okay, we'll do Panama. Because, of course, the orange Republican turd keeps talking about taking it back. You know, he's the most greedy piece of shit out there. I'm sorry. I have to do this. Greedy. All they think of is money. He doesn't even understand the fucking economy. He doesn't understand the economy of the world. He doesn't understand what tariffs are. So Panama just set me off. Panama's famous canal is a crucial route for global trade. It ran so low on water in 2019, remember that many ships could no longer traverse it fully loaded. Jennifer and I did a show on that. Do you think that the orange Republican turd even thinks about that, or in those, terms? Haiti. So many terrible things that
My Haitian people are very musical. That's how we work. That's how we protest. That's how we do everything with music in Haiti. My goal as a songwriter, I think, is to give to the people a tool for education about a specific
How nice.
problem. especially in this song, Ecology.
I don't want to get a copyright, but that was lovely. You can all play it. Sandstorms have become more severe in Sudan. That's another country that's totally messed up. Look at the sandstorms. As a result of deforestation and drought, residents of some villages in the country's desert can wake up to so much sand that they have to dig their way out of their homes' front doors. The New York Times is really, really telling us how fucked we are. Australia, the inferno down under, which none of us can ever forget. 2000 to 20, 72,000 square miles, the size of Syria. Remember how awful that was? Henry Holt lived there. He lived through it, one of our followers at the time. Oh my gosh, 3,000 homes, 30 people died. Look at the trees. But it was the koalas. Where's the koalas? Where's the picture of the koalas? That was really upsetting. A lot of Australians followed us. Yeah, Dale. Is climate crisis disappearing from consciousness? Yes, especially now that progressives and other conscious aware people are all resist Trump on this and that and oh so many things except okay, I'm going to wait for you to except for the eco crisis, which was raging before the Orange Republican Turd, increasing all during his first term, all during Biden's term, and still during this one. But nothing seems to flip the switch that tells people. I'm waiting. One more. It was good. Cuba. Brazil. We can hear her. I'm waiting for your third one. Let's listen to Brazil. Why isn't it playing? Hang on.
Biggest treasure, in my opinion, which is the Amazon. And the Minister of the Environment and the President, they are not doing a good job on helping and...
Hang on. Dale's number 3 tells people we better figure out how to take requisite action. Okay, Dale, you're gonna make a thread here, so we're gonna finish listening to her.
Our forest and our Amazon, so maybe the other countries can do something about it or help them to open the eyes for this important subject. What I wish people know is that unfortunately our politics and our government is not helping at all with our biggest treasure, in my opinion, which is the Amazon. And the Minister of the Environment and the President, they are not doing a good job on help.
Absolutely. Sports are a giant source of greenhouse gas, but they will never admit it. I will tell you, I drove in Buffalo the other day, and I was in Hamburg, New York, where they are building a gigantic new stadium behind the old stadium for the Buffalo Bills. I'd never seen, it was such a monstrosity, and I know there's so much corruption and everything and how much taxpayer money. Big fight. I made a video about it. What haven't I made a video about? About our governor and her husband and all the corruption and all the money, and that this shouldn't have been paid for by local taxpayers, New York State and local taxpayers that pay county tax, because it was owned by the Pagulas, who are fracking billionaires. Maybe I'll link to that video and you can see what happened. I didn't even stop to take a picture. I was going to throw up. But I did go to Dead Mall, and that's going to be a different show. So here's one that's going to sit on the ocean floor. Liechtenstein, Sierra Leone, Afghanistan, and we screwed those people. All right, wait. Dale, we'll have to do a show together. Ecological things got pushed off the table during all this chaos. Even more so now. Alex Steffen calls this predatory delay, unending procrastination, avoidance. I was actually going to talk about Alex today because I don't care how long the show goes. It'll give me good clips. Afghanistan is suffering its second severe drought in 4 years at a time when the economy is collapsing and millions of people are displaced. The UN warns that more than 22 million people are in danger of food insecurity, and we are going to send the Afghans back to Afghanistan who helped us in that 20-year devastating, horrible war that George Bush and his father, oligarch assholes, got us in. Wow. The unjustness. Costa Rica, where Jean lives, who is not a moderator anymore, but hasn't come back to the channel because she's probably pissed at me. Costa Rica's cloud forests are a natural wonder and a habitat for threatened and endangered species. Plus, she's a new mom with her adopted baby. But the constant cloud presence requires a careful balance of heat and moisture. Warming temperatures are driving down relative humidity. And Costa Rica was like this, amazing place, and it's changing. Many highland birds, including the resplendent quetzal, are now at risk. The cloud forests are a natural wonder and habitat. Wow. What's happening in the United Arab Emirates? What's the quickest way to get a good rainstorm in the desert of the UAE? Cloud seeding. The National Center of Meteorology and Seismology in Dubai says it conducts about 2 operations a week with plans for more. That's an interesting one. The cloud seeding, because it gives all the climate, all the wacky people to make this into a conspiracy that all of this stuff's happening. I know that the solar radiation management is going to start being tested in the air. I don't like it, like I said earlier. Oh gosh, I can't even go to Ukraine, but we're going. During a record year of wildfires in Ukraine's Chernobyl exclusion zone, thousands of acres burned, releasing radioactivity into the atmosphere in 2020. And of course, the war, which is an of course, I've made a video about war, the damaging effects of war. I have a video on that too, how horrible it is. Montenegro, fires. Look at Mauritania. Getting hotter. The Galapagos. The population in Ecuador of the beloved Galapagos Sea Island fell by 23.8% after 2015's El Nino. Stronger and more frequent El Ninos mean more danger for the sea lions. Yeah, it is. It sure as shit is. That and solar radiation management. That's a hell of a book. Okay. Glacier loss in Tajikistan. Wow. Ireland. We have friends in Ireland. Donald McCarthy is in Ireland. Ireland is famous for its damp days and green grass. Now it's getting even wetter. Rainfall from 1989 to 2018 increased 6% from the previous 3 decades. Holy crap. And yeah. I have another person that writes to me from Ireland who I stopped because he's such a climate change denier that he's not going to change my mind on what the science is that's solved for me. Malawi, Jamaica, Nigeria, a flooded future. Holy shit. Wow. Lagos, Africa's most populous city, is at extreme risk from flooding on a warming planet. One of its poorest areas already know what life is like on the water. Makako is a settlement built partly on stilts at the Laos Lagoon. Residents navigate their watery streets in canoes. When the waters swell, the residents of Makako feel the pressure. Flooding ruins homes and children are kept out of school. Will more of Lagos look like Makako as the seas rise? Oh, Lord. And even in Spain, look at, it's hard not to want to go through a lot of these. As Spain faced severe desertification, the country's almond farms were drying up. Some farmers turned to pre-industrial methods, such as allowing grassy plants to grow and die between their trees and cutting back on trimming or tilling. The soil rejuvenated and the almonds began to thrive. Good. I like that. No till and let your stuff rejuvenate. That's exactly what I'm doing in my garden. It rejuvenated. I mean, I have a lot of cover crops and weeds, but it rejuvenated. The soil is really going to be beautiful once I do get out there. And that's like a laying on a yoga mat or sitting on a cart and rolling around without killing my back to try to get all those weeds up. Qatar. China. The Three Gorges Dam, the world's largest hydroelectric project, is one of humanity's great engineering feats. It was designed to tame the Yangtze River and generate power for a booming Chinese economy. But is it secure? In August 2020, and we did a show on that too, water in the mega dam's reservoir reached a depth of 540 feet, approximately 30 feet short of the maximum it was designed to hold. As a result of huge rainstorms, the state-run Xinhua news agency reported that displacement, seepage, and deformation in the dam, though authorities said it was safe. Look at that. Holy shit. 400 million people live downstream of the Three Gorges Dam. Shanghai and other cities are in its potential floodplain. A disaster there would be enormous. Increasingly erratic weather has created challenges for many of China's more than 98,000 dams and raised worries about whether they will continue to be safe and effective in an era of climate change. 2 dams in Inner Mongolia collapsed in July after heavy rains, creating floods that affected 16,600 people. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in China. It's a fascinating country. My parents also have been there, and I have a sister-in-law from China and a niece-in-law, actually, from China, who tells us what goes on. They love the country, but things have changed. Like everything. Things have changed and it's sad. My father's passed away. They haven't been, my mother doesn't go anymore, but they went to the wedding in China. It was pretty massive. I didn't go, obviously. All right, Micronesia, Indonesia. I saw this the other day. All these oldest paintings, after 45,000 years, the images on a cave wall, that's going to disappear because of hotter temperatures and everything's going to flake off. So we're going to lose all that stuff pretty soon. Venezuela, yeah, that's the glaciers. Goodbye. Yep. Singapore, they have an air conditioning paradox. A hotter planet will need more air conditioning. Unfortunately, generating electricity to power it is a significant source of greenhouse gases. Singapore has more air conditioning units per capita than anywhere else in Southeast Asia. But the tropical country has developed a way to cool buildings with chilled water, a process that uses 40% less energy. And I'd say they get a little bit of an applause, because at least they know they have to use less energy. Oh my God. If I read this one, I'm just gonna cry. They're going. No, we won't have any more of them. Wow. Chad, 161,000 people. Flooding in Africa. Everything is backwards and upside down. Antigua and Barbuda and Lesotho and Belgium and New Zealand. Even the dead can't escape climate change. A 2019 landscape at a bay southeast of Auckland scattered human remains from a Maori burial site across a beach into the ocean. Hundreds of Maori urupa, or burial sites, along rivers and coastlines are at risk from rising sea level, coastal erosion, and storms. And all of those people that got bunkers in New Zealand, your bones are going to wash out also. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it used to be the place, right? Where all of the rich preppers were going to go. Estonia. And when I read the ones about the animals, I could just watch you guys and just start crying. The gray seals of the Baltic Sea breed on ice. So what happened during the ice-free winter of 2019 to 20? Pups were born on overcrowded islands, and researchers estimate that as many as 50% may have died. I can't stand it. And I don't eat animals like that. I mean, eggs maybe. God. This is tough to look at. There's just so much going on. And it's actually, I really could do one show on all of it. Let's look at Russia. All right. Russia's always fascinating, even though Vladimir fuckface, suck ass, it's not the people. It's the leadership, just like in the United States. The people of Russia are cool. The scientists of Russia were really cool. We worked with scientists from Russia, and we shared all the information and the data and the research, and that stopped when the war started because he's supposedly the second world's richest man. How did he become that way? The KGB guy, the Vlad dude, and he's another insane psychopathic motherfucker. The Arctic is warming faster than any other part of the planet. Permanently frozen ground, or permafrost, which covers 65% of Russia, is thawing. As the permafrost melts, it releases greenhouse gases previously trapped in the soil into the atmosphere. The total CO2 and methane emissions from permafrost could reach almost 40 billion tons by the end of this century. Jennifer and I spent 8 years talking about this, and it's just getting worse. I remember this picture. There are more immediate consequences. Thawing ground is unstable, and if the rate of warming continues, Russia could face 97 billion in infrastructure damage by mid-century. Ibuprofen, anyone? It helps. Start prepping your ibuprofen. All right. Well, we're going to go. Tuvalu, Austria, flooding, Dominican Republic, getting hotter. Canada, our beloved Canada. I have to go over Canada. I fly a Canadian flag. It's another thing. We were Greenland, and now I'm thinking Canada, the 51st state. How much can I really hate the Orange Republican Turd? Warming Arctic temperatures endanger many of Canada's animals and will lead to rising sea levels. But for one mostly indigenous community, it also offers the chance of a better future. The port in Churchill, Manitoba, is inaccessible much of the year because of frozen waters, as the blue patches on this map show. Can you see my... Oh, yeah, you can. You can see my thing. So there, we're looking at that's open water days. Okay. Churchill, Manitoba. Look at that. Over time, as this animation shows, warming waters and shrinking ice create more open water days, offering new opportunities. So in Canada, the indigenous people are getting something. That is the climate trade-off facing many countries. Harmful consequences for some give way to economic opportunities for others. Wow. Let's see what you guys are up to in there. Are we having the Michael Mann discussion? No fighting. No fighting. We're not going to fight over it. People feel differently about Dr. Mann in this chat, and we know that. And it's great to think differently or have different viewpoints and worldviews. You know how I am about the chat. We can all get along, and we can care about each other and understand how we feel and see things and still respect each other. Let me see. You see that far right play. The current global coral bleaching event is the largest on record, impacting 84% of the world's coral reefs. Yeah. A lot of stuff going on. Yeah, Gary. No, they won't. But this is the major news source. This is the New York Times. But a lot of people hate the New York Times. So, they're not going to read this because the New York Times, the problem is their neoliberal bent and take on things and sort of a little bit of a bend at the knee. But they have great climate journalism. Belize. They're planting fragments of living coral among the reefs ravaged by warming and waters and ocean acidification. Belize has engaged in one of the world's most successful restoration projects, which that's good to hear because no, we don't hear that. Algeria, wildfires, Colombia, hot, Switzerland, the Alps are crumbling, warming temperatures are melting the ice that holds the mountains together. The frequency of rockfalls and landslides has increased, and it looks like it's set to continue. The Mauritius, hot, hot, hot. South Korea.
해녀일 처음 시작할 때는 초등학교 5, 6학년 바닷숲도 울창했고 돌도 하나 뒤집어 보고
Can you see the
뭐
words?
개도 지나가면은 이렇게 탁 돈 벌 것만 막 찾으러 다니거지.
Catch and sell money. And
어항에서
make money out of the fish. And I guess the fish are going. Kyrgyzstan. Wow. Yeah, starting wars. Growing stress over water is leading to deadly clashes between Kyrgyzstan and one of its neighbors. Tajikistan, Kazakhstan. They're all drying up. Somalia, flooding, where you don't think it's going to flood. Cambodia. Look at that. Now, look at this. You've traveled halfway around the world and seen the effects of climate change at every stop. Alarmed? And they have a way forward. I don't know if you want me to play it. Let me hear what it sounds like. All right, wait a second. The editorial. Should we hear what the editorial board has to say of the New York Times? I'm in no hurry, obviously. It's still not warm enough out.
Open your eyes.
53.
We have failed. The climate crisis is now.
Another year of extreme weather.
Record hurricanes.
Bushfires, part of the dramatic fallout from climate change.
For 30 years, we've talked and talked and talked.
Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah.
We've talked about climate change as a threat looming in our future. But the past 6 years are the 6 hottest years on record. The future is here, now. We live in a world of warmer, more violent weather, stronger storms, longer droughts, heavier floods, larger fires. Lowlands are being lost to the oceans. Drylands are being lost to the desert. Millions of people are moving because of climate change. What's left? A chance to avoid an even more terrible future.
Oh, here it comes.
We have to stop pretending that people are willing to make sacrifices on any meaningful scale.
Wow.
And individual actions alone simply aren't enough. We will continue to burn coal until governments prohibit it. We will continue to pour concrete until there is greener material. We will keep driving gasoline-fueled cars until there are cheaper alternatives. And we will keep eating beef until there is a better way to satisfy our appetites. So what can we do?
Scientists have warned that global temperature rise has got to be kept below 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid the worst impact.
The world can still hold the line at 1.5 degrees of warming by mid-century. Regulating emissions is critical, but wealthy governments and the private sector also need to go all out to fund innovations that can reduce emissions and recapture carbon that's already in the atmosphere. Fortunately, there's money to be made in saving the planet.
Wind, water, and solar power.
Green hydrogen.
Abundance of renewable. At the same time, we need to adapt to the changes to our world that are already unavoidable. If the push to limit warming to 1.5 degrees turns out to be out of reach, all that effort will still be worthwhile. Limit the problem. Mitigate the damage. Open your eyes. The planet is sending an SOS. Answer it.
Okay. So, the editorial board of the New York Times was right. We're in trouble. And they're right that it would have been great to do all of these things. And it would have been happening. But it does. And Tommy's right. As far as overshoot, it does ignore overshoot. Because nobody brings... Where is it? Of course it does. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about overshoot because they don't want to talk about not living business as usual. I mean, business as usual is just going on with the green capitalism. I don't have the answers. I'm just reporting on it. But I understand the passion in my audience. Linda said they needed to do it through... Yeah, exactly. Yep. And everybody has, and I respect Alex, I respect Tommy, I respect all of you because you have a worldview and you look at things in such a way. It could be different, but it doesn't mean we both don't have the same thing at heart, which is we're all together here because of our beautiful planet, all of us. And we're watching it, and we understand the ramifications of what we are watching. Flooding in Iran. Oh, we're not going to have our coffee anymore if Ethiopia screwed up. Monaco, Cyprus, Kenya, Suriname. Most countries are struggling to become carbon neutral. Suriname, 93%, which is covered by forests, is one of the 3 carbon negative countries in the world, which I think is pretty friggin' cool. It's a small country. I think that's cool as hell. And when I tell you I think it's cool, it's because I know where I live is carbon neutral as far as where I get my power from. I've read you guys the breakdown. There's no carbon burned to get the electricity that's at my house other than whatever they do for repair, driving vehicles, crap like that. So we can go on and on and on. And I hope you're all enjoying your trip with the night bird, although it's the daytime. When I narrate stories, I'm going to be the night bird. It is, Steve. Where are you? It is a very beautiful planet. That's why we're all here. We're all experience a lot of different feelings. Anger, betrayal, disbelief. There's so many different things that so many of us are experiencing. We have to pick each other up. Climate grief is a thing. We talk about this all the time. Climate grief. There's so much going on. But we all know that we feel it deep inside, no matter if we like one climate scientist or we don't, we're all feeling the same thing inside. Except, of course, the orange Republican turd who's golfing, most likely today. Oh, wait, he's coming back. Maybe he's golfing in Italy with 100 Secret Service people, costing us about, what, 5 million maybe for this trip. Thailand. Oh, Thailand's got some trouble. Thailand and Poland. But some good things. And I think this is the part of the New York Times telling us Egypt. For millenniums, Egypt's low humidity and dry weather have kept its pharaonic temples. They're temples of the pharaohs. Pharaonic temples and tombs in good condition. But experts fear erratic weather and rising seas are chipping away. That's what we read about another country too, at the granite and the mud bricks. Some are doing okay, some aren't. Luxembourg, look, the flooding. Jeez. We have a big, beautiful world. Everybody's got problems. And the turtles in Cape Verde. It's home to the largest nesting populations of loggerhead turtles in the world, and almost all recent hatchlings are female. A 2019 study found that because of warmer sand during the incubation period, females made up of an estimated 84% of hatchlings. It's sad, when you have to say goodbye, and it's in our lifetime that we're watching some of these most awful things happen. And yeah, there's good things happening in local places. I mean, it's a good thing that where I live, we're fighting sludge not to go on roads or farms. There's always that local thing that I talk about. 13 million Bangladeshis could be displaced by 2050, primarily because of rising seas and erosion. The annual flood level could reach far beyond Dhaka by 2150, when we won't, I'm sorry, humanity won't be around in 2150. In my opinion, it's not a prognostication. If we continue going the way we are, just look at Elliot Jacobson's Hiroshima equivalents of heat. Cameroon. All the animals that really take the beating. This is the cry of hungry, thirsty cows. In the northwestern region of Cameroon, a longer dry season is taking a toll on the local cattle and on the communities. It's so sad because the animals just get devastated. Oh my goodness. This is really amazing. And if you could do this at home, I don't even want to go through the Zimbabwe and see the dead cows. It's just sometimes a little overwhelming. Look at more water in Burundi. Cattle, Zimbabwe, drought. Finland, forget it. There wasn't a single day in 2019 to 20 that an area around Helsinki saw enough snow. The place you go skiing, but that's again a sport, but it's illustrative of what's happening. Nepal, Azerbaijan, where they had COP last year. Hot. Yeah, that wonderful country of genocidal intention, of which I did a show. Hi, Foggy. Yeah, we were warned 50 years ago in 1970 by the ecology movement that the first Earth Day and every year and decade since, nobody cared. Too many cool plastic toys and eclectic mine mentality in the U.S. But we're seeing all the other countries, and the U.S. is not the only game in town, but it's a big one. And by the misinformation, disinformation, gaslighting, mind fuck that these people behind Project 2025, the Heartland Institute, the tech bros, the wealthy, the oligarchs have put a mind fuck on the United States citizenry that don't have enough. They're not inoculated against bullshit. They're not inoculated against misinformation. Even I, for 5 minutes, fell for a deep fake. I wanted it to be real. Gabon, Bulgaria, Jesus, Dominica, Seychelles, North Macedonia, Niger. Niger, look at this. Stopping the Sahara's spread. Holy crap. Imagine that. The Sahel, a semi-arid region that stretches across Africa south of the Sahara, is threatened by desertification. The Great Green Wall is working to stop it. This is a multinational project which is helping farmers in Niger to plant trees, manage water, and make their agricultural practices more sustainable. Some 900,000 acres have been restored. That is an amazing project. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the things that I'm talking about people are doing locally. You don't hear about this, but that's what people are doing locally. And they're not thinking about the big picture that it may be, for nothing. They're thinking about the picture that it's for today, and they're doing it. I will never say I wouldn't want to see these kind of programs take hold. Nope, because they are doing them. Jordan and Tonga, El Salvador. Oh, let's look at El Salvador. Let's look at the country with the Seco, the big prison. Tropical storm Amanda damaged thousands of homes and killed at least 27 people in May 2020. El Salvador, the country we're buying prison space from their authoritarian guy who's cleaned up the streets, supposedly. If you've ever seen a video of what that prison is like, is if it's supposed to be a gigantic deterrent, it seems not to have worked because they swoop up people in these gangs, supposedly the gangs, which I guess they are because they all have they have the identifying marks, but they swoop them up and stick them all in a room. I think there's 80 with bunk beds with nothing, So has it worked as a deterrent? I don't know. I haven't followed up on the story, but it is pretty horrific. I wouldn't want to, it's horrific how they treat people in that prison. And I've seen videos, legit people taking a tour and seeing how the prisoners are. But again, I don't think prisons anywhere are fabulous. They're not meant to be, but this is worse than I've seen. But then again, we haven't really been invited into prisons in Saudi Arabia or prisons in any of those countries lately. Eritrea. Do you remember this? When the swarms of locusts descended on eastern Africa, the infestation was so severe that Eritrea mobilized its military to fight the insects. Scientists say climate change created exceptionally good breeding conditions. I remember that too. Yeah. I remember that when Jennifer and I talked about that one. It was kind of gross. Hey, how are you? Even net zero is hardly taken seriously by countries doing it. Well, that's because everything has a profit motive. They're doing it because they're going to make money in building the technology to try to do things like carbon capture, which the big machines, I absolutely hate. Okay. I understand if it meets an objective and it actually meets an objective. And always, yes, that's humanity. Humanity is full of collateral damage, but I respect your outlook. St. Lucia. They have, I think Florida has this, the toxic sargassum seaweed for a decade. When it washes up on the beaches, it stinks like rotten eggs. Unfortunately, it thrives in warming waters, and the blooms have been steadily growing larger. I'm waiting for the mass pesticide use on that. Oman, thunderstorms had hail last year. Remember that one? I remember all of these. South Africa, Israel, the Eastern Mediterranean is warming faster than most places on the planet. Scientists believe the hotter sea has killed off around 90% of the mollusks on the Israel's coast. So that has to be Gaza also. I mean, same territory. Doesn't talk about the destruction from war. Czech Republic, Benin, Myanmar. They had, August 2020. St. Kitts. Oh, the St. Kitts and Nevis is staring down a thirsty future. Already rainfall isn't replenishing the island's aquifers. The country is building water cisterns and installing water storage tanks across the islands. Will that be enough when the droughts get worse? So it's a given when the droughts get worse. So they're taking local action. Less water means more violence. Hot in Georgia. Ivory Coast. Look at the flooding. So it is nowhere that is left untouched. The sounds of farmers harvesting potatoes with horse-driven plows have been heard across Transylvania for generations, but heavy, intense rainfall has caused rivers to overflow, destroying thousands of acres of potato fields. Yeah, we don't know much about North Korea. Belarus, rain. Nicaragua, it's hot. Lithuania, something's really wrong. They figured it out. Iraq. In Anbar and the Nineveh provinces, years of droughts became an ally for the Islamic State. The terrorist group lured desperate farmers into its ranks with promises of food and water at a time when people were struggling to feed their families. So the bad guys were trying to win out. I wonder what happened. Oh, boy. How you doing out there? Ghana, Hungary, Angola, Peru, more potatoes. So Uzbekistan. Okay. Yeah, it's a marathon. It's a Sunday morning marathon. And then I'm going to go outside. Seaweed is drying up too. Damn. Okay. I'm looking for something else. Oh, Sandy, let's see. 30 years ago, 1995. State, local, national, international. Thousands of articles, books, worthy causes, shows. 60 Minutes had tons of shows on it till then. And plenty since. Wake up. Yes, Foggy. Wake up. Clean Titans. I like this. Seaweed can be used as biochar or fertilizer for crops. I like these things. I'm always trying to think of these things on my place. You know? I love amazing things. I'm just sad that it's amazing things that, you know, I don't know. Vietnam, Uzbekistan, Burkina Faso, a massive dust storm. They're just going to keep coming back. Fighting. Remember the Bosnia Civil War, which left tens of thousands of landmines strewn across that country? Climate change is making them even more dangerous. During huge floods in 2014, many were washed to new unknown locations. The worst part, more flooding is expected in the country's future. Yeah. Yep. Palau. Oh, Madagascar. Scientists estimate that climate change could reduce the suitable habitat for Madagascar's critically endangered ruffle lemurs by 38 to 83% by 2070. They're beautiful. Goodbye, like everything else. Oh, my goodness. We have gone around the world. We've looked at flooding. Look at in Iceland. Look at this. It's not even a glacier anymore. Ojkil. Look at that. It's insane. Here we are. And it's thank you for the New York Times having the money and the good journalists to document this. I want to see who did it. So we've reached the end. Okay, let's see. We've reached the end of our postcards. We hope that so we went through 193 countries. We hope that what you've read, heard, and seen about these 193 countries has shown you how climate change is already shaping daily life around the world. But the world doesn't have to keep burning, but the world's going to keep burning, and I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play it because we've been a long time. I did have another article, though, but this was cool. And I have another. Well, let me just show you the other article. It's too late. This is a long show, but I am going to go through this because given what we've seen and given what we know is happening in the United States, The Guardian had a really cool article about prepping, and they called it liberal preppers. So I think I'm going to do a show on this. All of his guns will do nothing for him. Lefty preppers are taking a different approach to doomsday. And I think it's right up my alley, but it's too much for today. It would just take us down a rabbit hole that I'm not ready to do yet. But we'll look at comments and have a little chit chat before we go. And one thing is for sure, we cannot address even 1% of both the migration and damages that will come. So I guess we'll be on their own. They will be on their own. And at some point we will get bored to report on these events. Well, I'm always going to report on all these events. And and at least as long as I can, I'm not, half dead or whatever. I mean, I am pretty disabled, but I still am getting the things done. I do have to tell everybody, oh gosh, honey, it's been a long show. Predatory delay of the world lends itself to long shows. So much to be covered and be pissed about. Well, I can also break them up, which I like now. I'm learning how to make shorter videos and things, but it was a great presentation. And thanks to the New York Times, I'll have everything in there attributing because it was not one writer, obviously. This was a team effort, quite a team effort to go through all of this. Only a dictatorship of the proletariat can deal with climate issues. You mean eco-fascism. To clean it up, it would be forcing people because if people don't voluntarily do it, it's forcing them. Okay, wait. Representative Don Bacon suggested Monday that Pete Hegseth should be fired, reportedly becoming the first one to go. Oh, okay, that's good because he's really not good at what he's doing. No, I mean, you don't bring your family in on national secret phone calls. Our country is the laughingstock of the world, and it's pretty funny. The coverage of the Orange Republican Turd at the Pope's funeral wasn't very good, and supposedly they clapped for Zelensky because the night before, 2 nights before, the Russians bombed Kyiv and killed people, just like the Israelis are doing every single day in Gaza. Don't forget it. They're wiping it out, and the media isn't covering it because they're hiding behind distractions in the United States. A lot of distractions. Where's Dale? Yeah, be more like China. In eco-fascism, like lockdowns, frustrating to people to be protected from their own selfishness and ignorance. It'll never happen. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, we can dream about, hey, something changes, but, capitalism is fascism, so we already have eco-fascism. Therefore, we need something else. Oh, I love when people get into extremely intense thinking patterns like Keith does. He does. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for everything you do to keep important information out in the public. We can never stop fighting the good fight. I'm not stopping. In fact, the problem today was supposed to be, or yesterday was supposed to be the march at the Peace Bridge for Canadian solidarity. Well, Nate McMurray, who was doing it, wants it to be a bigger event. So I'm going to be on his show on Tuesday. I don't know if he's taping it or what. He does a show, and he's on all kinds of different platforms. I don't have truthfully, to like go on TikTok and all these other platforms, I just don't have it in me. We are what we are. I don't even get 500 views on a show. Who cares? It's good information, so I'm not going to get upset over the fact that, no, he has not been banned. No. Yeah, Keith tells it like it is. He does. I do. Well, we can feed the seaweed to livestock. Eventually, though, it's got to change. Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Uh-huh. Yeah, and of course you wish you were wrong. We all do. We all wish we were wrong about the horrible things happening. Let's see. Asteron X has determined that the world governments will end up in space away from the riots, while mining companies will also go up there. So we are discussing total independence. Yeah, I met somebody years ago who was convinced that we as a humanity would be sending up ships and equipment to mine asteroids for the metals. I have not checked into any of that in so long, but I interviewed the guy, Robert in the Woods, years ago, and he was talking about this stuff. And look, it could be, right? Whitey on the moon. No, these asteroids, right? I don't know. Got to look into it. If anybody knows anything about mining asteroids, I haven't heard about it in the news. All I heard about was Leon Tusk wanting to go to Mars, and the satellites and the satellite debris falling to the Earth, and Jeff Bezos and the amount of power and dirty energy it takes to send up those stupid spaceships with stars, taking a ride to space like Gayle King and Katy Perry, and then coming back to have all the conspiracy people saying it was fake. Yeah, asteroid mining. That's right. It's been talked about for years. I interviewed Robert at least 7 years ago. He still lives up out in the woods. He still lives in a little shacky type thing with a solar power that he built, wood stove, and his dog. Yeah, I should probably go check on him. I mean, he's on my Facebook, so obviously he's somewhat technical. Let's see. Asteroids, much more logical to go rather than Mars. Well, it was a thing. So we'll have to look it up unless anybody's in the audience that wants to do a quick, quick thing. Okay, who's here? Orb. I like to mine big asteroids. Big asteroids, and I don't mind. Oh, yeah. You guys are funny. My starship is not doing too well. See, that's what I like. I like everybody being funny after a show of seriousness. Be a little funny. Since I'm sitting here for goddamn 2 hours. And I know I have to go outside. Okay, let's take a vote on what should Sandy do. Sandy has 2 things she wanted to accomplish today. Me, talking in third person. My greenhouse needs to be cleaned out. It is a mess, and I really want to clean it out. It's, let's see what it is today. It's 55 Fahrenheit. It's 55 Fahrenheit, so it's 13 here. And so it's not that warm, to be out. Maybe I could be out the garden. If I clean the greenhouse, that entails, well, cleaning it up. And Caleb, who I pay to help me, is going to open up the one side of the greenhouse so that I get an airflow. I don't remember, did I tell you guys this? And maybe be able to put a solar fan in it because it gets too hot and I've lost plants and I need to clean up the bottom. So it's choice of clean up the... No, it's 55 out though. So it'll be nice and warm in there for me. I don't think it'll be too hot, although I have a fan if I want to plug it in. But if he puts the hole in the... Oh, I wish I had a picture of it. Let me see if I have a picture of it. What the fuck is the difference? We're going long anyway. I'll have lots of clips. I'm looking for a picture, so we might as well see if I can find it in the search. Hang on. Greenhouse. All right, greenhouse. Because you're all with me. What the heck is the difference? Where's my greenhouse? I cannot believe it. Oh, it didn't type in right. Green. You can't see what I'm doing because I'm not screen sharing this. Okay. I got it. So hang on. Let's look at the greenhouse. And okay, here it is. Did it go in there? All right, there's my greenhouse. And that door is actually on. But on the top, if you see, I don't know if you cannot see the pointer. That's where it's got to be cut open in the top. And a fan gets put in because it's stupid the way it is. It doesn't have both sides ventilation, although those doors are a glass and a screen door that were put on there. So it won't be that hot, all right? But I can't use it. And the tables that I have inside the greenhouse have warped. So I can take the shit off there, clean it out, and then, this without hurting my back because it's not going to require a lot of lifting. And get the tables, I have to take the warped wood off that was made into tables, and I have crap in my basement. I've got boards and more of that stuff to put on that won't be warped, because when you put flats on warped boards, you don't water right. It's not good, And when my ex-husband built it, while I gave him a lot of credit, it has its deficits, and I finally have someone that's going to help me fix those deficits. Who wants to help me fix those deficits? I pay him to fix those deficits, but it's worth it to me. So that's why any extra money I get here, and you know what? Any extra, I want to thank you, Linda, because that kind of thing helps me in my life as I am so messed up, and I hate it, but it is what it is. So the greenhouse. All right, so let's see. The other thing, instead of the greenhouse, is the garden, maybe? Okay, let me see if I have a picture of what the garden looks like now, which is god-awful. But it has cover crop and weeds on top of it, and I know I have a picture. Shit. It's hard to find when I know I have... Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to take this picture out and show you the garden. Or I can go up front and get... it'll be work, but let's see. This is what my garden looks like right now. If it opens up. Yeah, it's awful. It's got 7 rows, and so everything is messed up. So I can roll... Susan, that's in the chat, sent me a rolling cart, and I can roll in between, and then start getting rid of all the shit in there. But the soil underneath is amazing. And there's a piece of cattle panel I have that has to go around one of my trees. But I can't do all this anymore like by myself. I've had beautiful gardens. You've all seen my shows with the disabled able gardener. So that's the two things. I need to do something today that gets me outside, gets me moving, gets me exercising. So what do you guys say? Do you say, really? Cattle panels and wire fence sections make better greenhouse tables. Next time I can help. I love greenhouses proper. Me too, but I didn't build it. He did. Doug did. And I always ask him, why the hell did you put the door facing the woods? I didn't build it, like I said, but I have it. And I'm grateful that I have that greenhouse. And I'm grateful that Cale will come and fix it for me because he wants to. It is. It's a very nice greenhouse. You know, it is. I mean, I can't say I'm not blessed for having the shit I have here. Are you kidding? And I don't want to have to leave because I'm falling apart. So, yeah. But I have also the side deck. I mean, now we're turning into a gardening channel. But the side of my deck is all plasticed in, so it's warm out there too. And Bila in the audience there in the chat sent me peppers and tomatoes. And they're already growing, but I had to bring them inside because it got so cold last night. But I've got light, and I've got light on all the seeds, and I finally got all that together, and everything is ready to plant on the back deck. Although I had to move. I love gardening, and I love gardening channels, and I love learning about seeds. And let me show you if I have a picture of the back deck after I cleaned it. Well, I got the green stalk going, but I don't have it planted yet. Oh my goodness. I'll show you. What the hell? I've been here so long. It's only going to take me 2 hours at the most to clean out the... Okay, I'm showing you a couple of pictures. Why not? You're all sitting here with me, right? Oh my God. I have a million pictures I could show, but I'm not going to show them all. Like the mouse hole in my bedroom closet that we just put more stuff through. Okay. This is sort of what it looks like right now out there. This is ready, but I had to move it because it got windy. And because the wind now is so intense, I have to get some bungee or jute and tie it to the deck railing. But that's the green stalk. All my pots are ready to get plants in them. Not even all of them. I still have quite a bit. And then this one is ready for lettuce. I could do that today too. This is on the deck. So, and that's another green stalk. So that's ready for lettuce, and I can put those seeds in today. They'll come up, and then I want to make it cut and come again lettuce. And yeah, but this is a pretty cool thing, these green stalks. And again, it is. Let me see if I can make this smaller and I can show you. I grew a lot of shit in this green stalk, but I can't leave it by the deck because if I plant it and it gets blown over because the winds are different, like we showed you with the New York Times, everything is changing. And that fell over. And I got help getting it all fixed, and I replenished some of the soil with compost, which my whole compost is not ready at all. No, that's not going to be ready till next year. Even getting the manure from my neighbor across the street. So anyway, thank you for sharing the stuff that happens at my place and what I will be doing. Yeah, you know what? For me, where is that? It's 6. And they don't go out to the yard because I don't want them getting eaten up by coyotes or bringing in fleas and ticks and all that. Absolutely it is. I have a gigantic heap, but it's not ready this year. So I need to go get, in my rolling cart, I need to go get 2 5-gallon pails that I have filled with horse shit and drag it back. and then put it on that compost, which yesterday I dumped ash from the wood stove in there. And it's a lot of stuff I've been putting in there, but it's not decomposed. Like 2 years ago, I had amazing stuff. I mean, just a freaking amazing compost. So I want to thank everybody for coming and being with me today. So did we vote on the greenhouse? Yeah, I think so. I think the greenhouse is the good one. You're voting on the greenhouse? Yeah. Yeah, Mark. Mark's been here. He's seen my greenhouse. Mark has been my guest. Oh, I have an announcement. Oh, this is not a good announcement. Holy shit. I've got not a good announcement. Okay. Those of you who follow the Doomosphere know Sam Mitchell, otherwise known as Hambone Littletail. Well, he left Florida. He's a snowbird. So he has something called Bugs in a Jar Farm, which is a tiny house village that he is an Airbnb host, which he moved to New York. I told him to move to New York. It's outside of Ithaca, New York. And he also lives in Florida half the time. Well, he left Florida and he's on his way here, and he stopped at Ariel's house. Ariel lives in Atlanta. She is an astrologer. She has a channel. She's one of the club, the group of us that communicate regularly about everything. He must have been doing some work for her, and he fell off her roof. He's not dying, but his sister's with him. I spoke with him this morning. Maybe a broken shoulder, maybe something else. It's going to be a very difficult year if he can even open the Airbnb. He's probably going to come here for 2 weeks maybe to convalesce in my guest room. And because he can't stay in Atlanta, I don't think, and he wants to be closer. His sister could take him to Vermont. So everybody's talking about what to do. It's a community we have. And when the community needs help, we all chip in. We recently helped somebody, I'm not going to say their name, in the community who literally needed help. And David Baum from the Claps Club, who is also mentioned in that article I'm going to read on Lefty Preppers, by the way. He helped this person. I mean, we help each other no matter where we are, at least in locally. So me too. I'm sorry to hear. Susan's a friend. She is involved. She knows him. That's how I met Susan. Susan's been to my house too. I mean, we're close. So I'm going to take care of him. It's not as bad as I thought, but broken shoulder and a broken pelvis is going to really put a crimp in his style. And people live in the main house where he has his bugs in a jar, but he may be able to get set up in the closest tiny house to the main house, and maybe not even have the business this summer, which was going to get hit by the tariffs. Canadians and people from China and India, his bookings were like way down because of this, especially with Canadians who were some of the biggest people to travel here. So maybe, this happened, but it's sad that it happened. So there you go. I wanted to tell you guys that happened. So if there's no videos on Claps Chronicle or his other channel, that's what's happening. He's in Atlanta, and he said I could tell everybody. So there you go. So now that I've told you all, we can get a couple more. The Ocean Cleanup is a Dutch organization that aims to remove plastic from the oceans using technology. Learn about its history, mission, team, and how to support its work. See, this is why I love this channel, because we all can have a different viewpoint of what we think is needed, not fighting with each other, just trying to understand the other's viewpoint in the chat. And it's called respect, because we're all here because we love the planet. And like I said earlier, disappointment or upset or whatever it is that brings us all together, our worldviews are never going to be all the same. And that's what's beautiful about this channel. And I made it that way. That's the moderator or the mediator in me. Okay? All right. Hopefully I can do something Tuesday night. All right? And if Nate he interviews me Tuesday, I'll get a link to where he's going to be. All right. I could go with you guys all day, but I got to get outside. It's been wonderful. Thank you. Click like and all that good stuff. All right? Yay! Ba-ba.